Alright, hello, and welcome to Camel Finance. I'm your boy Camel, and that was a very accurate depiction of probably the majority of Bitcoin and crypto investors as of yesterday. The price action, if you're new here, probably seemed wild. But if, like me, you've been here a little while, it's just another day in the office. So, here is a zoomed in look. We went all the way from 27 and change up to 30k just under. Then, within a matter of hours, we plunged all the way back down to 27k, only to then, as you can see, spike right back up to almost 30k again. So if this is blowing your mind, if you're thinking this is manipulation, you're probably right, okay? But welcome to Bitcoin, welcome to markets. All markets are manipulated. It's no good making excuses. So Jordan here, providing some true alpha. He showed that the real yield and Bitcoin are typically closely correlated. And there are times when deviations occur. So at the top here, we have Bitcoin's price. And at the bottom, we've got the inverted US Treasury real yield. Last time we had a divergence, Bitcoin's price going up and the inverted yield coming down. What we saw was Bitcoin turn out to be wrong and correct thereafter. Just recently, we had a similar situation set up. We had Bitcoin pumped to the upside whilst the inverted yield was coming down. And Jordan flagged this at the time and said, one of these is probably wrong. That it was Bitcoin that was wrong. Bitcoin, as you can see, corrected shortly after. And now the yield is turning up and so is Bitcoin. So now these are back in sync. Blaming manipulation is not going to help you, and neither is coming up with a dip that fits your narrative. And there's really no reason to have a dip fit your narrative. Now, I saw all over Twitter and all over various places people saying, wow, Bitcoin pumped 10% in the face of another bank blowing up. But let me assure you, okay, especially if you've been on this channel before, the move that we saw yesterday was not even remotely out of the ordinary. I flagged two possible scenarios. The first was that we put in a counter trend bounce before then rolling over into that cycle low wherever it forms, whether it's at 25k or all the way down here or slightly higher up. It's to be determined and remains to be seen. Or I said there's also a possibility that we'll come up here, repair these two trend lines, this downward sloping blue one and this upward sloping blue one, and then move up higher and form the cycle low much higher up than I have it marked here. But either way, subscribers and viewers of the channel knew that we had a cycle low to watch out for, and there was no reason to go chasing this move. You can also see that on a daily closing basis, we have not yet repaired the downward sloping blue resistance line, and therefore it's reasonable to expect continued downside into this daily cycle low. So I continue to be patient. I continue not really have much more to say until we can get down into this timing window. The cycle low should form, in case you didn't know, on the 9th of May, plus or minus 10%, which is 6 days. I remain in this long. I remain looking to add to existing longs when we get down into this timing window and try to find this daily cycle low, and I will be doing that on the channel. So make sure you're subscribed if you want to see me do that in real time. You can see on this chart, just before we move off of this chart, you can see that I've got this 25k-ish, I think it's 25.3, marked in yellow, the top of this range breakout. Now, a lot of people are looking at this as a possible downside target, as you can see here, for this dip to end, down to 25k and resume, and that would be completing a inverse head and shoulders pattern with the 25.3k level-ish being the neckline of the inverse head and shoulders. Technically speaking, from a technical point of view, this would be a more than normal and more than constructive look to see Bitcoin undergo. So is that going to happen, or are we going to get down there and then just smash through it? As long as we maintain this uptrend, that's really badly drawn. Let me redraw this for you. As long as we maintain this uptrend here, then I think we can still say we're happily inside a bullish structure and we are looking for continued upside. I really, really, really do not think it's likely that we find this cycle low down here and then roll over and make new lows. I think we will come out of this cycle low swinging. Jason here says most aren't ready for this in Bitcoin and crypto. And I think he's right. But at least viewers of this channel are. This, you'll notice, will align perfectly with the expectation this channel has to come down into that cycle low in May. So it's just a case of sitting on the sides and being patient. It's only about a week and a half away. I'm sure I can manage that, and I know you can as well. Something else nobody is ready for is for Bitcoin to do Bitcoin things coming out of this cycle low early May. So as you can see, I'm not saying this will happen, but I'm saying this to me would be the path of most pain. There's still an awful lot of bearishness out there. There's an awful lot of people that think this can't happen. There's an awful lot of people that when we get down here will pile in on shorts and be saying Capo was right and we're going to do something like this and new lows are coming and we got to go down to 10 or 8k and Gareth Soloway was correct because he was calling for a 90% drawdown and we've only had a 75%. I mean, come on. Come on, this is Bitcoin. This is what it does, okay? It goes up. And again, if I'm wrong about this, if it's going to roll over and do something like this, we'll know pretty soon, right? But this fractal, as I say many, many times, is right until it's wrong. And if we continue to hold and we continue to push up, then I will continue to remain long and strong. 24 billion was injected into the crypto market in less than 24 hours. This is bullish. Undeniably, this is bullish. It's a lot of money, and whales continue to accumulate here, despite all the FUD narratives that the government is dumping Bitcoin. They may or may not be selling their Bitcoin, but they're selling it to someone. They're selling it to whales that are happy to take it off their hands. We continue to see under the hood and behind the scenes, Bitcoin get pushed into the mainstream, pushed towards a global adoption. We have this centuries-old Austrian bank now offering Bitcoin to over 260,000 customers. So again, this is yet another bank that we see embracing Bitcoin. And of course, they have no choice. They have to embrace it. Otherwise, they will simply be left behind. Meanwhile, in China, the Chinese yuan has overtaken the US dollar as the most used currency in China's cross-border transactions for the first time in history. We are living through a currency reset. We are living through the de-dollarization and a shift from the dollar as the global reserve currency towards whatever this new system is post Great Reset. I also found this, and I wanted to share this with you because something I keep hearing is this sell in May and go away. Maybe, okay, maybe. As always, I'm open to all outcomes. But if you've been on the channel before, as I've already said, we are expecting a cycle low to form in early May, and then we're expecting to come out of here swinging, okay? The same is true, keep in mind, of the S&P 500. Its cycle low just so happens to also form right around the same time as Bitcoin's will. And again, I expect us to come out of here swinging. The same is true of gold as well. Gold kind of chopping around sideways, but I expect this to resolve to the downside into that same 9th of May timeframe before coming out of here swinging. So whilst everyone is talking about sell in May and go away, is your entire thesis for selling in May and going away because of that saying, because of that phrase? Because when you look at the data, here's the S&P 500 being up in May 9 out of 10 years. Out of the past decade, 9 out of the 10 Mays have returned positive for the S&P 500. Again, I'm open to all outcomes. I'm open to anything that shows up on the charts. I will continue to remain unbiased and ready to deal with any technical breakdowns as they occur, just like we did in the S&P 500 very recently. Very recently, we lost this upward sloping yellow support line. We hopped out of our long position. I'm more than happy to continue to do this. But if you're one of these people that's saying sell in May and go away, and you have no real reason to do so other than the media has told you to, I just encourage you to have a look at the data and decide whether or not that is really the best thing to do. Henrik here, bears are delusional. Every single dip they call the crash. He's right. And this is exactly right as well. This is called a wall of worry. Markets love to climb the wall of worry. There is a million reasons to be bearish, and I agree with those million reasons to be bearish. But the charts are the charts, the technicals are the technicals. And as you can see, bull flag, breakout, bull flag, we're about to break out. Now, we might have to wait all the way into the 9th of May, which is only a week and a half away before we see the next leg up. But I do expect us to see the next leg up across the board, as I continuously say. So until proven otherwise, I remain cautiously optimistic about markets coming out of these cycle lows. I've already said most of what I wanted to say in terms of the technicals. The dollar, as you can see, still kind of wants to break down, but it hasn't done it yet. So I do ultimately expect this to make its way down to the mid-90s. How long that takes is anybody's guess. And whether or not we have to pop up a little bit first before then rolling over is also anybody's guess. But either way, I do think all paths lead to 94, 95, 96 for the Dixie. The last thing I wanted to point out before I love you and leave you with a meme is the VIX. So again, a lot of people were talking about seeing a massive VIX spike. They were saying, oh, when we get down to these levels, buy the VIX, it's got to spike. And I was one of the few people that came out and said, look, I'm just not in that camp of people. I said, if it were to break out and do this, in hindsight, it will be super obvious. We'll be able to look back there and go, well, of course it did. Of course it spiked. But I just don't believe we're there yet. So far, you'll notice it looked quite promising for a VIX spike, didn't it? However, you can see heavily sold off, so far heavily sold off yesterday as well. Now, this does not mean that a spike isn't coming over the next couple of days, okay? As always, let me make this clear. I know only that I do not know. I do not know what's going to happen. Neither does any of you, neither does anyone, okay? Nobody knows what's going to happen. But as it stands, I've been postulating the idea that we are likely going to get, at the worst case scenario, a short pop-up which is quickly sold off as we find those cycle lows that I keep banging on about. So far, so good for that. This will be a really interesting thing to keep an eye on, because if we can't even get a pop-up to 22 as we find these cycle lows, if we end up doing something like this, right? We end up doing something like this and then breaking down, then I would say it's game on for the Meltup. It's been a while, still kind of yet to be proven, but it certainly looks more and more promising all the time. Here's the Meltup idea. Are we going to get it? I don't know. But if we can, like I suspect we will, come out of these cycle lows swinging, then I think it's time to actually finally validate the Meltup. Either way, we've been on the right side since the bottom. We'll continue to stay on the right side. I hope you found value here today. I hope you enjoyed this. It's important to be patient sometimes. Whilst everyone is probably, in my opinion, going to get chopped up a lot over the next week and a half, whilst people are going to be chasing the Bitcoin breakout only to get wrecked, and they're going to be piling in shorts and only to get squeezed. Whilst this is going to continue to happen, I think by playing patient, by waiting for these cycle lows to form, that is how you're going to get the easiest as well. The most stress-free entries are going to come from those cycle lows, as well as the most profitable opportunities. So anyway, something to think about. Like I said, I'm going to be doing this on the channel. So make sure you stay tuned, make sure you come back, hit that subscribe button, turn the notifications on, and until next time, take care from me. All the best. Cheers. Goodbye.